David says, Austin and Robert, I would like to build a garage/workshop and I'm considering getting a loan to get started. What do you think are my best options? Here's what I've got so far. So the build cost is going to be about $30,000. I've got $25,000 in my high yield savings account, but this is very much my emergency fund. I have a mortgage and owe about $225,000 on it, and my home is worth $600,000. I have $135,000 in my 401k, $10,000 in my IRA, and I'm currently saving $1,000 a month toward this project while still contributing $500 a month to my Roth IRA. My annual income is $170,000, and I've got a 750 to 800 credit score. So here's my question. Do I take $15,000 from my savings, borrow $15,000 via a signature loan with the intent of paying it back over the next 12 to 18 months and fund the build that way? Or do you have other ideas? Love your podcast. I wish I found you guys sooner. David in Nashville. Robert, what do you think about this?
Well, I'm going to go the real world route on this, and then we can talk about what is the smartest route. The real world route is David is crushing it. They've set themselves up with having all of the things, the IRA, the 401k, the emergency plan, all of that is in place, and David wants a garage. And so in my opinion, I would probably do the half and half. I'd probably spend $15K of what I have, and I'd probably borrow the rest maybe through a HELOC or, like he said, maybe a personal signature loan. But when you want a garage, I can feel where David's at. I'm a car guy. I have a lot of tools, a lot of stuff. You're going to get the garage. And I know there are other better ways we can discuss. What would that look like if he just saved the money so he didn't take from his emergency fund, save it for another 15 or 20 months, and then just pay for the garage? Maybe that money along the way is in a high yield savings account. But I also know what it's like to say, all right, I'm crushing it. This is the real world. I want this garage now. I want to get him started. So I think either way is good. Either way works financially because David is doing well, making a lot of money, has a great credit score. And with that high credit score, it means he's going to qualify for better rates on any of these loan programs like I mentioned.
Yeah, so let's talk about those loan programs. So you mentioned the HELOC. I didn't even think about that. I immediately went to the signature loan that's like, call it 12.5%, which I would argue is high interest debt.
It is.
Anything in double digits, you want to get rid of that. So let's not go into high interest debt. But to the point of the HELOC, I think HELOC rates right now, depending on your credit score, are anywhere between 8 and 9%, which is right on the fringe that I think is still kind of, manageable. So David, if you really wanted to get this done ASAP, maybe it's a good idea to take 5, 10, 15,000 from the emergency fund, assuming you still have about 3 months of expenses saved in here. Assuming you guys are spending 5 or 6,000 a month, I think you can, keep that 15 to 18,000 set aside in the emergency fund. And then the difference there between what you pull from the savings account could be borrowed via a HELOC at this, let's call it 8% interest rate, which again isn't unbearable if you really had to get this built out today. Now, that's the emotional way to go about it. That's the I want a garage, I deserve a garage way to go about it. The smart way to do it is do exactly what you're doing right now, which is saving $1,000 a month toward this project. Because if you think about it, we fast forward maybe 2 years, 3 years, you now have $20,000 to $30,000 set aside that you could build this project out in cash. You don't have to go into 8%, 10%, 12% interest on any sort of debt. And now you have both this awesome garage and you've got no interest payments to any lenders along the way. So if you want to do it just the best way possible, smartest way money possible, that's how you do it. But delayed gratification sucks. It's so hard to set aside and put this money, saving in a high yield savings account for 2, 3, maybe 4 years, depending on how long it's going to take you to save that. Knowing your options, I think, is the most important thing to do here, Dave. And also understanding if you do go into this debt, how much are you actually spending in interest, right? So let's say you did borrow this $15,000 at an 8.5% interest rate. Every year that you keep this $15,000 of debt, you're paying about $1,300 in interest, right? So you keep it around for 1 year, you're paying about $1,300 in interest. Keep it around for 2 years, it goes up to $2,600, so on and so forth. So if you are going to go into debt, I love that you called out that you have the intent of paying it back in that 12 to 15 month range. That means you're keeping the interest payments as low as possible.
Yeah, I agree. And I love how you said the real world versus the math side of it, because there's always two sides of the equation. We all get caught up in things we want, and we are just here to break it down for you and give you all the options we can think of for all of your questions because we know that life is meant to be enjoyed along the way. And the other way to look at this too, the assumption would be building this garage is going to add additional value to the upside for this property. So that's one thing we want to make sure we consider as well, because having a nice garage, let's say maybe it doesn't have a garage at all, or it's got a carport, or it's got an older garage, having a new nice garage would definitely add value. So you have to take that into consideration as well.
I think the important takeaway here from everyone listening, it doesn't matter if you're in a situation like Dave or not, but you might find yourself in a situation later about this idea of starting a sinking fund, saving for a couple years for a large purchase, or really running the math and understanding the numbers around borrowing money at an 8%, 10%, 12% interest rate, and what that could instead be working for you in the markets and what that could be earning. So just like being able to talk through these questions in real time and sort of how you should be coming to your own conclusions mathematically, emotionally, like that's what this podcast is all about.